Have you ever taken the time to look at a ghost Pokemon card before? I mean, there's plenty of them out there, but some ones that I've picked out from my collection, I think, are pretty notable. I mean, the art on these is pretty sweet. You never really pay attention much with the uncommons or honestly even the rares nowadays. But sometimes you just gotta look back because someone put, 2-3 hours into these, and I'm sure even longer. But today I'm going to be looking at a couple of my Miss Magius cards. I enjoy collecting this Pokemon. I think it has a cool design. It's not like your Mimikyu or your Gengar. It has its own kind of a witchy look to it, and I like that. Now, the first Miss Magius card I'm going to be looking at came out in 2008. Its illustrator is Midori Harada. So it's Miss Magius. It's level 33, which you probably don't need to know when you're playing the cards. It has only 80 HP, which I think is pretty regular even nowadays. It's a stage 1. It evolves from Mischievous. It has the Crash Chant attack for no cost. It says choose up to 4 in any combination of Pokemon tool cards and technical machine cards in play, both yours and your opponent's, and discard them. This attack does 20 damage times the number of cards discarded in this way. And then it has the Horror Chant attack for a Psychic and a Colorless that does 40 damage. It says if your opponent has 4 more benched Pokemon, choose one of them and return that Pokemon and all cards attached to it to your opponent's hand. These are some pretty nasty attacks. Crash Chant for no cost. I mean, you can hit 80 damage and even mess up what tools or technical machines your opponent is playing. And for no cost, that's pretty good. Horror Chant is interesting. I don't think it's too good because if you're just returning one of your opponent's Pokemon to their hand when they have a full bench, I guess there's maybe some play that you could do with that. Maybe removing a supporting Pokemon on your opponent's side if they are benched out. But I don't know. I'm definitely more of a Crash Chant guy. This Miss Magius has a weakness to Dark, but it's only plus 20, not your times 2 that we see. Has a resistance to Normal type, a minus 20 resistance, which is you just don't see that either. And then it has 1 retreat cost. Now the art on this card is really cool, really cool. I have it as a holo. So it has that Galaxy Hollow on it, and the old Galaxy Hollows you can see the kind of the squares in the dots, which I really like. I'm a big fan of that. But imagine you are on a broomstick and you're flying over a large port city that has access to the ocean, and to your left is your Miss Magius. Some people might not know what Miss Magius looks like, so I'm going to explain it right now. So Miss Magius is a ghost type. It doesn't have any arms or legs, and it is shaped almost like a cloth. Now, Miss Magius's head is just a sphere, but it's wearing a hat to go that melds into the head, and it's a witch's hat. And then underneath Miss Magius's head is almost like a little collar, and then it goes out into this really large flowing cape. Now on Miss Magius, a lot of the ends are this bright pink, so you have the ends of the cape are bright pink. The top of the hat is bright pink, and then there's some what would you call that? Some, I don't know, pizzazz or just spikes, I guess, some spikes that come off the hat on the sides and on the back. Those are also pink. Miss Magius also has 3 jewels right below the collar. They're red jewels. And then a red smile, kind of like a Mimikyu, so it's jagged. And then its eyeballs kind of remind me of raccoon eyes, where it has the thick black line around them. And then it has the yellow, I don't know, the white part of the eye, and then it's the color of Miss Magius's eye is orange. And, that's kind of what it looks like. So, in this card, you're flying next to your Miss Magius above this port city, and it's a really pretty city. You can't see too much detail. I mean, actually, it's pretty dang detailed. You can kind of tell that the buildings are maybe 4 or 5 stories tall. The roads are all lit up. There's bridges, and it's all at nighttime. So you get this really pretty lighting effect through the holographic, but it's not taking up all of the image as Miss Magius is like the main focus. Really pretty card. I like this one a lot. The next Miss Magius card I have is from 2009, so we're going forward a year. And we're going up a couple levels, because this Miss Magius is level 40. And the illustrator is Kagemaru Himeno. So this one has 90 HP, so it's getting a little bit more HP. And, I forgot to mention that this is number 429 in the Pokedex, and it is called a magical Pokemon. Its height is 2 feet 11 inches, and it only weighs 9.7 pounds. It has 2 attacks. The first one is called Upper Hand. It's for 1 psychic, and it does 30 damage. It says, choose one of the defending Pokemon's attacks. That Pokemon can't use that attack during your opponent's next turn. And then it has the Psybeam attack for a psychic and 2 colorless. It does 60 damage, and it says, flip a coin. If heads, the defending Pokemon is now confused. I mean, the attacks are pretty generic. Upper Hand I can see being a little irritating to play against, especially if your Pokemon only have 1 attack. So, this Miss Magius is like, you can't use that attack, so you're going to have to retreat or switch out or something. Psybeam is pretty basic, confusion and I'd say some decent damage. I mean, you'll probably 2-shot a lot of things. Now, this Miss Magius does have some flavor text, unlike the previous one. It says, its cry sounds like an incantation. It is said the cry may rarely be imbued with happiness-giving power. Damn, that is deep. That is some deep lore. Dang. I personally don't know if I would have a Miss Magius on my team if every time it cried I would just be like depressed. But, I mean, I love the design, so. It has a weakness to dark, which is plus 20, so we're still not out of the plus 20 kind of era. It has resistance to normal still, which is minus 20, and then 1 retreat cost. Now, the stats isn't like crazy or anything on this card, but the art is pretty dang sweet. They definitely knocked it out of the ballpark for the magical aspect on this card in particular. Now you have your Miss Magius, which is taking up most of the card, and it's in like a laying position, so its face is pointed towards the top, and then its back is pointing towards the bottom of the card. But the interesting thing is that's not how like the world is facing as well, because if you tilt the card to the left, then you can see that there's a lamp post in the background that faces straight up. So if you tilt the card, then it's like facing upright at this point, which is definitely something you don't see too much. Now, you have your lamppost in the back, and you can also see this like outline of trees next to the, like, going around the lamppost. But the really pretty thing about this card is the sky that they made. It is gorgeous. Towards the bottom right of the art, you have this gigantic moon, and it's like faded into this orange sky, but you can tell that it's a moon because it has some light hitting the top of it. So really pretty big moon. It takes up a good portion of the card too. And in front of this moon, you have these dark brown clouds that kind of streak across the sky. There's 1, 2, 3 like long dark brown cloud streaks. And the sky has this ombre. It goes from orange to this like red to a magenta to a pink, all the way down to like this dark purple. So a very pretty ombre. And it just gives like a really cool like galaxy kind of effect. There's some stars in the background as well. And I mean, just the giant moon is just such a big lure to me. But yeah, that's pretty much that card. Nice art. Not the most insane attacks. Okay, next up we have another Mischievous. This was from 2011. Unfortunately, we went down in HP, so now we're only at 80. It still evolves from Mischievous, and it's still a magical Pokemon. So this Mischievous has 2 attacks. The first is called Sleeping Spell. For 1 Psychic, it does 30 damage. And then it says flip a coin. If heads, the defending Pokemon is now asleep. I could probably use some sleep right now. Hopefully I get heads. And then the second attack is called Poltergeist. For a Psychic and a colorless energy, it does 30 times damage. So it says, look at your opponent's hand. This attack does 30 damage times the number of trainer, supporter, and stadium cards in your opponent's hand. I just gotta say, dude, it sounds like Bayonet EX right now. But like a really bad one. But at this point in time, 2011, you could probably hit some crazy damage. I mean, I guess it depends on how big your opponent's hand is. But I think there were cards like Copycat. Actually, I don't even know. I'm sure there was some way to like give your opponent more cards, or maybe they just had large hands back then. A Poltergeist could hit for crazy damage, 120, 150. Honestly, pretty insane. It has a darkness weakness times 2, so we're getting away from the plus 20 stuff. We still have a minus 20 resistance to normal and a 1 retreat cost. So the flavor text is so tiny on this card, goodness. It says, its cries sound like incantations to torment the foe. It appears where you least expect it. That's creepy. That is creepy. Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. The illustrator is Suwama Chiaki. And I like this illustrator. I think I have like a Pidgeot line from this illustrator, and it's just such a wonderful way to like draw Pokemon. It honestly looks like they used either colored pencil or like a watercolor. I think they used colored pencil on this one, especially for the Miss Magius. You have your Miss Magius as like the main focus of the card, and the artist used a lot of white for the highlights. So it's almost like it's kind of like faded in a lot of the different parts. Like the rim of Miss Maggie's hat is faded, so is the top, so is the collar, and all of the like frill, all of the ends of the cape all kind of have this like faded white effect. And the Miss Maggie's is not really sitting, but is like on, like gliding across this water, this greenish yellow. It almost looks like a lake, and it is using some sort of magic on this tiny skipping stone in front of it. This skipping stone in front of it has this like yellow aura around it. And maybe Miss Maggie's just likes to skip rocks or something. I sure do. Now in the far background, across this yellow greenish lake, you can see that there is a like a tree lining, just some like basic green trees, and then interestingly enough, there is just like a basic house back there too. It has an orange roof, has front door, some kind of light blue windows, just chilling back there. So maybe that's where this Miss Maggie's trainer lives. And then the sky is kind of like a reflectance of or it's kind of using the same colors of the water. So it's like a greenish yellow sky. So the card is very green, which fits with the border. The borders on these 2011 cards are not very yellow. They're very kind of like faded. So it fits in really well with that. But it also makes the Miss Maggie's pop a lot because it's, Miss Maggie's has these dark purples. And it's really pretty. I like this one. The next one I have is, it's a little goofy. I kind of like it. It gives me like a classic kind of like Halloween vibes. So, this card came out in 2013. The illustrator is Sumiyoshi Kizuki. So this Miss Maggie has got an upgrade. It has 100 HP. Let's see, is there anything different? No. We're just going to hop over to the attacks. Its first attack is called Absorb Life. Sounds great. For a psychic and a colorless, it does 30 damage, and it heals 10 damage from this Pokemon. And then its second attack for a psychic and 2 colorless is called Spooky Shot. Nice. I like that attack name. A little goofy too. Spooky Shot. This thing does 70 damage, so pretty crazy. It has a weakness to dark for ×2, no resistance, and 1 retreat. And it has some flavor text. It says, its cry sounds like an incantation. It is said the cry may rarely be imbued with happiness-giving power. Bro, I thought we just read that one. Okay, it's the same flavor text as the 2009 card. Darn, I thought I was going to get some cool lore. I really like this card for the art, though. You have your Miss Magius. The style that this artist uses is very, like, almost a little cartoony. The outline that the Miss Magius has is like this thick black line around it. And then that's the same for there are 3 rolling hills behind that, like in the background. And those also have the outline. And then on these rolling hills, on the first one on the left, you have this really big tree that's also just in this, like, it's only the dark outline on it, and it's really droopy. So you can think of like classic like Halloween town stuff. Droopy dead tree. Boom, you got it. And then the Miss Magius covers up the second hill, but on the third one, you just have some basic tiny pine trees, just showing that they're far out in the background. The sky on this card is pretty cool. It has some really cartoony clouds, no outline on them though, just some like gray clouds. And then in the top right corner, You can actually there's like this moon, um, and it's like a crescent moon, but it's really thick and it almost closes up on itself. So again, like a cartoony moon, and it kind of gives me the feel of um, that same 2009 card where it has that big moon in the background. But this one's a lot tinier. I just like this card because it's cartoony and you kind of don't see that too much. It's not the most popular style, but I think it works. You know, that Halloween, that cartoony Halloween vibe, definitely in this card if you're looking for something like that. Now the next one I have is from 2017. So let's look at this. That's about the time I started playing Pokemon. And whew, pretty. Okay. So let's start. It has 110 HP. This is the biggest one, or yeah, the one with the most HP that we've seen yet. Its first attack is called Chaos Wheel. What a sweet attack. So for one Psychic, it does 30 damage. It says your opponent can't play any Pokemon Tool, Special Energy, or Stadium cards from their hand during their next turn. The second attack is called Dark Arts. Harry Potter, definitely, dude. This Mismagius is feeling it with the Dark Arts. It does, for one Psychic and two Colorless Energy, it does 20 times damage. It says this attack does 20 damage for each card in your opponent's hand. Hey, that's pretty cool. It's actually pretty sweet. Chaos Wheel is nice because it blocks your opponent from playing cards from their hand. And then Dark Arts is going to do 20 damage for each card in your opponent's hand. So, hey, I mean, it's a nice combo. They combo into each other. I like it. So it has Darkness Weakness for ×2. Fighting Resistance for -20, which is the first time we've seen that. And then 1 Retreat. And then the flavor text says, it appears as if from nowhere, muttering incantations, placing curses, and giving people terrifying visions. What the hell? What is that, dude? That's some nightmare fuel stuff, man. Just asking to, like, cry from this Pokemon. Scary. But the art, dude. So the illustrator is Chibi. That's like the name. And dang, they knocked it out of the park. This is a beautiful Mismagius art. If you're looking for good art, you're going to want this one. So this Mismagius is just in the forefront of the picture. But they gave Mismagius a little bit of character, almost like it's enjoying itself. The smile, or Mismagius' mouth is open a little bit more in this one. And they're looking behind. And it's looking behind at a Mischievous. Let's see, what is the Mischievous doing? I can't tell, it's so dang tiny. But there's a Mischievous in the background. I think just, mucking about, doing its thing. And the Mismagius and Mischievous are in this very, like, whimsical forest. Underneath the Mismagius and to the left, on the left of the card, you have these really pretty blue flowers that have kind of like a white light source coming from inside of them. So they definitely pop out on the card. And then in front of the Mischievous, you have this like glowing blue path. It's like, it almost looks like grass too. So it's like a natural blue path. And they are both in this forest that has these really tall pine trees, and it's nighttime. So you have these dark pine trees in the background, these blue flowers that really pop, and then this really magical pathway that they're on. And in the sky, again, you see that moon that just is just there. I really wish this card was holographic, and I might honestly look that up, because that moon would just look so sweet if it had some hollow effect on it. It's a rare card, so yeah, it would probably have that. But dang, it's so, like, the sky is so well done. It has a bunch of different colors in it. You have blues and purples, and I mean, it even gets really dark in the top left corner. And just these, you can see like stars in it as well. And it gives Miss Magius a lot of character. Like the past couple cards we've looked at, it's just like, boom, you have your Miss Magius. Okay, what's your background? This one almost tells a little story about how, Miss Magius is enjoying itself out in the forest with Mischievous on it looks like maybe like a cold summer night. And when the moon is just like giving Miss Magius all of its aura. And it's sweet. I like this one. Okay, the last one is actually one that came out pretty recently. So this one came out last year, 2023. And this card is actually from the Trick or Treat set. So it has a big orange Pikachu that's a pumpkin on it. So this one only has 90 HP. So we went down a little bit, unfortunately. And it has an ability called Magical Flick. It says when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may move an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon to one of their benched Pokemon. And then it has one attack for a Psychic and a Colorless. It's called Psychic Sphere. Say that 3 times fast. It does 60 damage. So pretty basic. And then the ability is just like irritating. But I mean, you can only use it once when you evolve. So it's like, it just doesn't sound that too good. It has a darkness weakness for ×2, a fighting resistance for -30, and 1 retreat cost. Now the flavor text says, its cry sounds like an incantation. It is said the cry may rarely be imbued with happiness-giving power. Come on, dude. They couldn't have given it anything else. I swear I've read that like 3 times. Yeah, honestly, the best flavor text we've gotten is on the Sun and Moon Miss Magius that we just read. Dang. Dude, we need justice for this card. So let's see. The illustrator is Atsushi Furusawa. And the card is, honestly, it's really well done. It is giving, it just straight up gives like anime vibes. Like, the detail is really well done on the card. Not cartoony at all. Everything looks, honestly, like, I doubt this could be hand drawn. This looks digital. It's like really well done. Everything's perfect. It shows Mischievous in the middle of the card, just kind of like floating among these windmills. But the windmills aren't, or like wind turbines, but they're not like what we have. These on the card are like towers, like it's a brick tower, and then at the top of the tower, that's where the turbine comes out. And it looks like there are 3 of them positioned in the card. And then the background has a really pretty like Cosmo night sky, and the clouds are very like whimsical. They look very like fluffy. Again, this card just like blends really well with everything. So it just looks really good. Dang. Having this as like a computer background, or honestly like a piece of art on the wall would be pretty sweet. I would definitely rock that. Yeah, it's pretty basic. Nothing like some of the other stuff we've seen, but it definitely has that Miss Maggie's character to it, where Miss Maggie's is just chilling, and it's probably nighttime, and there's stuff behind it. So I like it. It's nice. Well, that was the last one that I wanted to talk about on the podcast, and just wanted to let people know to recommend cards that they want me to look at. I have a pretty crazy collection, so I'm definitely going to be pulling from that. I love talking about the cards that I have and the art that's on them. Pokemon cards are just sweet, and I just think some cards need to be talked about. Because, the flashy ones get their moment in the sunshine, but stuff like this, people just don't pay attention to it. And I think that you should enjoy more of that bulk that you have. Well, sweet. Thank you for listening. Peace.